Welcome to week 6, our very last week together in this massively online open course. It's great to have you having stuck with this for 6 weeks. We've learned a tremendous amount doing this class. So let me first start by telling you a little bit about what this sense is for the very last week. We're going to end on talking about games in the institution of education. Now, for some of you, that might seem strange. Yeah. For some of you, it might seem sort of strange that we're leaving that topic to the very end, but we wanted to get through some very foundational sort of work about why games would be a vehicle for learning in the first place. But this week, we're finally going to get into games, not just games as vehicles for learning no matter what context, but games in schools. So we've got 7 content videos on that topic, including a cameo visit from Berland, one of our faculty here who's talking about games and grades. Then we'll end with Jim G's last 3 design principles. And then the activity for this week is actually trying to connect our community up to the playful learning movement, which is a website. We have full directions for how to make that connection, but a full website for teachers in classrooms who are implementing games from Minecraft all the way over to Angry Birds, from Civ 5 to some of the games out of our own lab, and building full curricula around them. So we're going to connect you to that as part of your activity.
Yeah, and a few other words about that. So the Playful Learning is a collaboration we've been doing with some colleagues in Boston, Cambridge, and MIT, and really around the world. And part of what we're trying to do is can we create a global network of folks who are using games in places like classrooms and after-school centers, and learn from how we do this. Because this is definitely, having studied this for a while, just how teachers and people use technology, this is a case where you want to facilitate learning and interaction across. So getting people who are teaching the same kinds of students and the same kinds of subject areas, and sometimes even different ones, to study what each other does and then try to learn and let best practices emerge from that.
Absolutely. So a bit on our data from last week. So we grabbed a sample of data. I wanted to give you our weekly shout out to what are the preliminary findings that we're running into. If you recall last week, you went out and grabbed your favorite game-related text and then dropped it into a lexical profiler so we could look at what is the vocabulary used in that text and what is the reading level. So what we found was that, in fact, K1 words, which are the 1,000 most frequent words in the English language, is about 74% of the text samples that you gave us. Again, our in size is 134. K2 words, which are the next most frequent words, is about 6%. The AWL words, which are academic word lists, so these are vocabulary words that are used across all textbooks regardless of domain. So not specialty academic words, but the kind of academic vocabulary that helps improve your scores on things like ACT, SAT, GRE.
Quick question about that.
Yeah.
There were a couple of questions that came up in forums of people who said, well, this word looks like it might be academic, or it's not. How hard and fast are these lists?
Very hard and fast.
Oh, really? Okay.
Surprisingly so. There's some really interesting work, and I'll try and link that over on the forums.
Okay.
But there's some really interesting work actually pulling out what specifically are the words on the AWL list. Now, there's, of course, competing different lists, but the AWL word list that we have in this study on the lexical profiler that we use is a set list. And those words have been found to show up across all academic domains, which is, it's a great question. So on that stat, the mean is about 6%, and then which is actually quite good. For what it's worth, anywhere between 5 to 10% is considered a really nice text to use for kids in building up their academic vocabulary, because you don't want too many words in a typical text for reading comprehension, or a text that's kind of an intervention. You don't want too many words that a student doesn't know, or the text becomes too hard to read. So somewhere between 5 and 10% is actually quite good. 6% is a great number. And then finally, we have the Fry reading level, which, a moment on that. So there's lots of ways to calculate the reading level of text. For many of us who use Microsoft Word products or other kinds of desktop publishing software, Microsoft Word and others, there's actually internal stats, like you'll see the Flesch-Kincaid and other sort of statistics that you can run on your own text to see what is the level of difficulty of the text. So there's lots of ways that you can measure this. Now, some of the experts here, like Kathy Compton-Lilly and others here in our own university, have really helped me understand the value of the Fry above many of those other stats. We prefer the Fry because it's simpler to calculate, it's more reliable, it's less prone to variant errors. So we went with the Fry, which I know took a little bit more time and finesse for people to use, but we felt like it would give us a much better measure. That Fry reading level, the mean is 10, so grade 10 on average reading text, which again is kind of surprising. Most newspapers, for example, are written at 8th grade level. So the fact that gaming text is actually a 10th grade reading level is interesting to say the least. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing to note on the table that you're looking at right now is that if you look over at standard deviation, keep in mind that there's a lot of variance there, right? So on the AWL word list, we've got 6% on average is the percentage of words in the text sampled that are out on the academic word list. But there's 3% variance, so that's a lot of variation, which makes sense. Game text is written, if you look down at the Fry reading level, is actually written anywhere, the text sampled in the small sample that we used is written anywhere between, grade 7 up to grade 13. Mm-hmm. So grade 7, middle school, all the way up to grade 13, which is college level text. So keep in mind there's a lot of variation in between there in that data set. So we've been talking about it a lot here, and one of the things we thought we would do was that for those of you who actually volunteered for these activities each week and were able to participate in our data collection, we would be very interested in opening up the possibility of inviting you, if you're interested and you would like to help participate in the data analysis, and if we have good findings, even in the writing for publication of those results. We would be very interested in inviting people from this course into that project. Now, I don't know what that will look like. We'll have to figure it out as we go. This is a course of now 40,000 people. So I think part of what that would look like depends on how many people are interested and in what ways they're interested, right? So
I think we can figure something out.
Yeah, I'd like to figure it out. So we're going to invite everyone, if you are interested in participating in that analysis or writing, contact us. You have our email. So contact us and let's find a way to think about doing this as a truly crowdsourced enterprise.
Mm-hmm. So some other ways that you can get involved. So this week, again, we'll be talking about the Playful Learning Consortium. If you're a teacher or someone who works directly with learners, that might be one sort of avenue. There's a game design MOOC that's going to be starting, I think, next spring. It might be next fall with Eric Klopfer, who's a colleague you've seen in the course. He's at MIT. I think it's being done through edX, but if you're really interested in design, I would strongly recommend you looking at that.
We've got our conference.
Yep.
So every year we run a Games, Learning, and Society conference here that last year was about 400 people. It's an academic conference on research around games and learning, but we also really leverage a really active community of teachers in classrooms of playful learning and others. So that event, you've got the dates in front of you. So that's a great way to connect to the work that we're doing here. And by the way, I should say that thanks to the Gates Foundation, we're able to subsidize registration and provide dorm-style housing for teachers, for enrolled students and teachers. So if you're worried about travel costs, we can help sort of accommodate that in some ways.
The course itself will stay up. We're going to freeze the forums relatively soon in the next couple of weeks. So if people like the discussions, how to continue, a number of different options. Hopefully folks might self-organize. I can imagine Reddit or Facebook or something. But the videos themselves will stay up for at least a while. It's between our university and Coursera, I think, to figure some of that out. But the videos will exist. And then also we hope to do some online courses through our university as well. Right.
So right now we're looking into, we already have an undergraduate course on Games and Learning, which is the course that we based this shorter abbreviated intro onto from. And we've got graduate seminars. So we're now looking into, as a follow-up course, both an undergraduate and graduate course that will be online. If you're interested in that, please contact us and let us know so we can keep you posted, but also so we can have an idea of what kind of size of course we're talking about online. And that's
it.
That's it for now, I think. Absolutely. We've got thanks to a lot of people.
So Ryan Martinez, our TA, who many have interacted with in the forums, thanks to Ryan. This has been crazy for him. He's in the midst of dissertation writing and doing this, so thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely. Don Fleshman, who is sitting here right now behind the camera, which you can't see him, but he is the genius behind putting together these video assets. It has taken a tremendous amount of work and revision and editing to get these media assets where we wanted them, and he's
a patient man.
All of that slogging for us. Really great work.
Yeah, so Brian Pelletier, who did the animations, who you met, thanks to Brian. Greg Conup, who has been the project manager. And lead cat herder, thank you very much, your patience. Braden Brewington, who's done all of the Coursera negotiation. A lot of you have seen him in the forums too. And mastering this interface between us and Coursera, and thank you, that's been a huge, huge bit of work. Jeff Russell, who's a vice provost and dean for continuing studies, who kind of championed this and thought this wasn't an insane idea to try to put together a games and learning MOOC. So thank you, Jeff. Probably our dean, Julie Underwood, who tolerates us as well.
And David Krakauer over at Wisconsin Institute for Discovery, who has been indulgent and supportive of this entire process.
So it's all to say, this course is made possible by a lot of folks, and thank you all of you who made this happen.
And DRC, Susan Engelleiter, who was a major force for innovation behind this course itself from the Data Recognition Core. We're really grateful to have worked through this. It has been a lot of work. We learned a lot along the way, and it's just been a real privilege and honor working with everyone on the forums and in this class. I hope that we get to continue the work somehow in the future.
Thanks.